Sorry. Good morning, students. So, welcome back to the marketing class. Last week we discussed about marketing, the basics of marketing, and what is marketing about, what is market about, and the evolution of modern marketing. Like we have seen uh, a sales concept, a product concept, production concept, marketing concept, and societal marketing concept. So these are some of the topics we are discussing last week. So today it's about global marketing. Uh, so what is global marketing? So global marketing is not simply selling our products or services to international market. It is more than that, because when you see the culture of a country, culture of people, I mean the culture of the region, everything is different. Not only the culture, the rules and regulations, the weather conditions. So many things need to take into consideration when you are considering the global marketing. So it includes the whole process of planning from every aspect. You will have from marketing, from production, okay, from distribution, that is a logistics. So every aspect we need to plan. Here we just see only from the marketing aspect. So the marketing aspect, like planning, producing, placing. So products in the worldwide market. Usually when we think of global marketing, usually they start with the export. Gradually they go to FDI, foreign direct investment. The simple one and the easy one, the first step is uh, exporting your product from your home country, okay, or host country to the our international customers. So large business often have offices in foreign countries they market to. But with the expansion of internet, even small companies can reach customers throughout the world. Uh, Actually, what is the meaning means? Like those days, global marketing is only feasible for companies which are very big, usually multinational companies. But with the advent of internet and the IT technology, even a small player can do the global one, can reach their customers globally. So it's a global marketing is the process of adjusting the marketing strategies of a company to adapt to the conditions of other countries. As we mentioned earlier, we need to also take into consideration like the culture, the rules and regulations, the weather, the habit, food habits, if it is the product is related to any food or beverages. So all those things, and the demand, very important is the demand for our product or service in the, in the country where we want to, move out legally. So of course, global marketing is more than selling our product or services globally. Global marketing is particularly important for products that have universal demand. Such as food and automobiles. Like you can see, the lot of foreign products or services we use are mostly related to the either automobiles or beverages, which will be like not much difference from one culture to another culture. Like as beverages like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, these kind of beverages, and then like pizza, these kind of foods, McDonald's, like fast foods, um, KFCs. So these kind of things are, moreover, I mean, universally accepted. But still, when they go to their, I mean, the foreign countries, each and every country, even every region, okay, that they need to do some changes. Say, for instance, for McDonald's, India is the only country. I mean, McDonald's have, I mean, outlets around the world. They are the biggest franchising at one point of time. They are the one, the McDonald's corporation is the first one to make the concept of franchising very, very famous. Before that, before McDonald's, people are not aware about the franchising concept. So only McDonald's, the credit goes. So what happens? McDonald's alter their menu and few other things, SOP, standard operating policies, uh, even little bit of atmosphere, everything according to every region. But in terms of menu, more than 60% of the menu they offer as a vegetarian in India. Even though the Indian market, Indian people love meat, but what happens? They also like to have more veggies in their menu recipe. So this is what the McDonald's found through the marketing research done in India. So for McDonald's, India is the only country where they have more vegetarian. So as we discussed, each and every region or every country, they need to do alterations, okay, in terms of the menu recipe, even the ingredients used. And Indian market, I mean, McDonald's, they use a lot of spices when compared to in their food items when compared to the other countries. So thus a beverage company is likely to be in more market than say a wooden toy, sort of things, are clothing or accessories. Then next topic is e-marketing. So what is e-marketing? Is a mix of modern communication technology and traditional principle that marketers usually apply. Okay, as we have seen with the technology, I mean, fastly growing. Okay, the marketing department can utilize it for the development of their market and thereby increase the market share. Now, I mean, the world is the limit. Okay, if you have really a product which have the global demand or access, I mean global demand, then you will have access to all the people around the world. So when we talk about modern communication technology, there is the electronic media, more known as internet. In the realm of e-marketing, the terms of online marketing and internet marketing are usually interchangeably used. Okay, so either they use online marketing or internet marketing, but this has given a access to people around the world to sell their product if the product has demand around. So the tools used and the resources can be used by the company. Okay, so the company can reach the customers via emails, blogs. The company have, they can maintain their own blogs to advertise their latest what is it, promotions, any features, new features in their product, or any new products they have developed, all those things through their blogs. And they can also send like many SMS to their prospective customers. Okay, and then web pages. Okay, web pages is a very effective one. Okay, so they can update all the happenings in the company, like what are the promotions and all those things, like what they do in the blogs and all those things. And they can come up with the special videos, and then these kind of videos they can shoot, and then they send to their prospective customers banners, pictures and advertisements, like internet this thing on the, like when during the Google one or in the email, like pop-up windows you see. So those are the things very effective. Okay, so that's why whenever we search, okay, on the internet for something, say I want to buy a sports shoe, so I was searching in the Google, okay, which brand is very good for running shoe. I want to do jogging, so running shoe I was looking in the internet, so which brand is now good, I was like searching in the Google. So after sometimes next maybe a next day or after few hours, when I check my email, okay, I can see a pop-up window advertising about companies like Nikkei and all those kind of things. So how this is possible? These kind of things are very effective in e-marketing. So how this is possible is because Google is a search engine. They always have access to all our informations. Okay. So when they have access to all our informations, what happens? These informations are taken, whatever we are searching, whatever we are looking into it. Okay. So what happens? These informations are passed to the concerned brand or company. So what happens? Those companies, they identify your, your address, URL address. Then they come up with this kind of advertisement related to the products you are searching. So it is a very effective one. If I, like I was just mentioning, if I was looking for a, yeah, running shoe brand with competitive pricing, then after some time I may got something else, but I still have not decided. So when I was opening an email, checking my email, then I saw this pop-up window of one of a brand like a Power, say Power. They have like they have some promotions of the sports shoes, especially running shoes. So I will decide to buy the particular products. And this kind of e-marketing, using these kind of tools is very effective to make your product sell. Actually, it's like when you see this strategy, there is two kind of strategy. One is a push strategy, another is a pull strategy. So we are not like concerned about the customers. We just produce products and just those products to the customers. Whether the customers need the product or not, are they going to be happy or not? As a business, we are not, concerned. That is a push strategy. Pull strategy means we are understanding the needs and wants of our customers, and making a product which fulfills the needs of the customers, and thereby, we are giving them the value for money, and we are doing the sales, and this sales leads to a good profit. So what happens? We can use these e-marketing tools and make our customer really happy, and we can usually follow the pull strategy. So e-marketing strategy that has been implemented well can reach a cost-effective consumers acquisition as compared to the traditional marketing. So what happens? As I told you, this will help us to go very close to our customers, or we can it will also help to increase our share of our customer market share. So what happens if you really utilize the correct one, okay, identifying the correct tools, okay, according to the what kind of whether SMS or emails or pop-up window, whatever is depending upon our product, whatever is feasible, whatever the way we can easily reach the customer, use the right tool, and thereby we can increase our sales. The next one is a telemarketing. So telemarketing is a direct marketing of goods or services to potential customers over telephone, internet, or fax. You would have seen call centers, right? So they have the company usually outsource their telemarketing to call centers, which will be very this thing. They give all the information to them, so these people will be calling the prospective customers, and then they'll be informing and all those things. So many of the time I mean, we attend to the phone and we can realize that it is from the bank. To take a personal loan or home loan, we get irritated. But yeah, I mean, that's the reality. But this is a very effective one. If I am in need for any bank loan or a personal loan, if the bank people, okay, through telemarketing reach me, it will be very effective. Okay, so this is one of the very effective way to reach the customers. And then very important is a marketing ethics. So what is ethics? Ethics is explained as a moral principles and values that oversee the actions and decisions of a person and group. So usually people confuse ethics with the legal aspect. Okay, legal aspect means you are doing something, okay, in line with the law of the country, law of the rules and regulations, and law of the region. That is called legal, illegal. If you are going against the rules and regulations of a country, then it's called illegal. If you are following the rules and regulations and law of the country, it is called legal. So how this confusion arises means ethic is something, it depends from your moral. You have studied moral science, okay, and the morality also differs from one maybe one culture to other culture. So based on your moral values, the ethics differs. Okay, actually general ethics is so what you think right or wrong. Okay, so that is a differentiating one. Okay, whatever you feel is right, okay, that is considered as ethic. Say for instance, okay, I will give you an example for ethics and a legal one. I am going to a restaurant, I'm having a meal, okay, and after meal I'm taking a beverage, let's say coffee. So what happens after eating, okay, the waiter give me the bill for the meal and coffee. So I not paying, okay, I don't want to pay. I come without paying, okay, to the cashier. I'm not paying. I just come without paying. So that is considered as illegal, okay, against law. That is illegal. But what happens, what is ethical? Okay, the same scenario, I'm going to the restaurant, I'm having a meal, okay, after meal I order a coffee. So what happens, by some technical issues in my bill, when the waiter gives me the bill, in my bill I find only the amount printed for my meal. Due to some technical aspect, the waiter is not including the amount for the coffee. So what happens? So if I go and pay the money just for my meal and come out, I'm legal. Okay, but it is not ethical. Why? Because as a morality, as if I follow my moral, what happens? I need to call the waiter. Hi, you forgot to add the bill amount for the coffee. So please include. So after including, then I should pay for both my meal and coffee. That is considered as ethical. So now you would have got some idea about what is legal and what is ethical. So ethics we are studying in business. Why? Because most of the business people, I mean many business people nowadays, they don't follow ethics. Okay, so that's the reason when I studied in those college days, if someone is a business student, okay, we studied ethics in only one subject, okay, as one topic. Later it became like one chapter. Now ethics has become a particular one subject, a separate subject. So why they give more emphasis means lot and lot of business people are not being ethical in their business practices. So it is very very important ethics you need to follow in the business. As I told you, the ethics is what you say, differ from one culture to another culture. If you are, say for instance, you want to do globally business, okay, so you need to know what is a local standards and local culture in order to be ethical. Okay, say for instance, in some countries, in order to get a license, say India, if I am doing a business, I want to get a particular license for a particular business, say a restaurant. Even though I have all the proper documents, what happens to get a license to run the restaurant? Definitely I need to pay some bribe to the officers. Okay, it is unavoidable. Okay, this, if you ask, is this ethical? It is not ethical, but the culture here in India, this, without, I mean, bribe is very difficult to get the license, even though you fulfill all the criteria. So it can be considered ethical, as this is a norm here. But if you take a country like Japan very strict. Okay, they don't take bribe. Okay, they see as long as you have all the criteria fulfilled to start the restaurant, they straight away give the license. So if I'm doing business in India, then I expand to Japan. Okay, I cannot go and bribe the officers in Japan because I say this is the culture or ethic in my country. Okay, so that is what you need to understand when you go globally. Okay, so ethics, as I told you, it differ from one culture to another culture. So it means intentionally applying standards of justice and represents the company to others. So marketing ethics, here is a business we have just discussed. Marketing is a part of a business. So marketing ethics is a part of the ethics we follow in our business. While the objective of any business is to be money making, if a company has to use counterfeit advertisements or misleading or objectionable marketing tactics to attain it, it is really not running a successful marketing campaign. Okay, as we've seen that whenever we give any advertisements or promotions, it should not be a misleading. Okay, misleading means, say for instance, that's why no brand will say this particular medicine or this particular product will solve your problem 100%. Even you take for instance Lifebuoy. Okay, Lifebuoy, they say it kills the germs, or Dettol, it kills the germs. They will not always, or usually they don't guarantee 100%. They say 99% or 99.9%. Okay, because this is the, I mean, there will be any cases. This is also concerned to the legal one. If someone use the Lifebuoy and they got some infection, if they use after use, still after using the soap, the person has to write as a consumer, go to the consumer court and sue the particular like a Dettol or a Lifebuoy company. But that's why the companies always they mention only 99% or 99.9%. They say so that they have a area where they can escape. Oh, your case is like 0.1% or your case is like 1%. Okay, that is one part of legal aspect. The other part is that there is no such a thing called a 100%. It removes a particular germs, or a particular medicine can cure 100% for a particular person. So what happens whenever a company is giving an advertisement, they should not give any misleading. Okay, so that 100% cure, they can say most of the time it will cure, like that, something like that they have to give. If something like they say, oh, this will solve that problem, or this will do that, like use this good night mosquito coil, it kills all this thing. This is more like a, I mean, not like a legal, okay, ethical. There can be short-term gain in doing something unethical. So what happens? You can give 100 promises, 1,000 promises, but initially this one may increase your business. Okay, but in a long term, okay, the customer will realize, oh, this business is just bluffing. Okay, they are not telling the truth. They are just exaggerating the, I mean, the product or services. So what happened? It will spoil the name in the market. Researchers stressed the fact that acts in an ethical manner will get in a long-term rewards for their action. So if a company is very ethical, okay, what they justify whatever they do, then what happens? Initially, there may not be an increase in sale or this thing, but in the long run, they will definitely have the benefits. So doing business in an ethical way can build loyal customers. Okay, they realize this company is not bluffing. They, I mean, they fulfill their promise. Okay, whatever the information they give through their marketing and advertisements, actually these are the communication tools. Okay, so they do, okay, all these things are real and genuine. Okay, so they become loyal to you. They get more referrals and will be building a positive image about the business. If I patronize particular product, I become very loyal to that product. So what happens? I will recommend the particular product, okay, to my friends, family, and relative. So what happens? This word of referral is a very effective marketing. So marketing has the potential to influence beliefs and behaviors. Okay, so what is a belief and behavior? So a lot of times, I mean, people fall as a prey for this fairness soap or fairness cream. Okay, so what happens? Constantly, the companies, okay, like Fair and Lovely, Fairever, or Fair and Lovely, something like these companies, which I mean, the unique selling proposition we call in marketing USP, unique selling proposition. They say, oh, our product, when you use constantly for 3 months or 6 months, can make your skin fairer. Okay, so these kind of things, when the company is constantly, I mean, bombarding their customers with so many advertisements and promotions, people started really believing that, oh, if I use a particular cream or if I use a particular soap, my skin will become fair. Okay, so it is important to maintain high ethical standards to protect the interest of the customers and public and the reputations of the clients. Okay, so it may be true or it may not be true. I'm not going into that direction, but what happens, whatever you do, you are not like exaggerating. That's very important. Like in hotel, they say, okay, promise less, deliver more. Okay, instead of promise more, you deliver less. It may lead to the customer dissatisfaction. Okay, so what happens? The hotel policy is always promise less and deliver more. So that will be more ethical. I mean, that will increase the customer satisfaction. So these are some of the ethical practices you can implement in your business. Opportunities for disadvantaged producers like farmers. Okay, I mean who have been exploited by the middlemen. Okay, so they don't give what do you say fair price to this, especially farmers. Okay, who are producing food for us actually have been exploited by big what do you say multinational hypermarkets, okay, and middlemen. What happens? They say, I'm giving you so much business. Okay, they try to bargain, okay, and then they try to get the price from the farmers. So sometimes they have no choice. They end up in loss or very minimal profit. Okay, so that is not good. So opportunity be given to the disadvantaged producers like farmers. We can give them better price, okay, and try to increase our profit not from the procuring from the farmers, or we can increase our profit by reducing the cost of production, not from the acquiring the raw material. So that's one thing. Transparency and accountability. Transparency means whatever the business we are doing, okay, right from outsourcing our raw materials to manufacturing, and then logistics, from how we are taking our product to the customers. Everything should be transparent and accountable. Accountability means we are taking responsibility for what is happening in the society because of our business. Okay, so what happens? Say a cigarette company. Okay, so what happens? Cigarette causes, a lot of diseases in the human being: lung cancer, lung infection, or lung cancer, or throat cancer. So many things. So what happens? They have to certain thing like now it has become mandatory. Okay, so they can take. Now they have to put a picture of a person with a cancer as a statutory warning and print that on the cigarette packet. So accountability means because of smoking, so it may lead to cancer. So one of the reason for people getting cancer is like what you say is the smoking. So what happens? The cigarette companies or manufacturers can donate some money, okay, to the cancer societies, okay, or research and development happening in the cancer, so they can donate money. All these things, these sort of things are called accountability. Fair trade practices is something more into this thing. We are like informing our customers everything very transparently, and then we are not having more profit. We have like a fixed certain profit, like say for instance, the thumb rule in a restaurant, the thumb rule for fixing the price, okay, based on the cost is like food item is always up to 30%. Say if I'm selling like what you say, a dosa, the cost of the dosa is like say 100 rupees. So up to 30 rupees I can charge for the dosa. So I can charge 130, which is around 30% of the dosa. So what happens? So that is for the food and beverages. Beverages, the profit are very high. Okay, it can go up to like say for instance 60 or 70%. So if I am selling like a cola, okay, the manufacturing cost of the cola is like only 1 rupee or 2 rupee, but I can sell my cola up to 20 rupees or 25 rupees. Okay, that's why if you go to a restaurant, they usually try to sell the more beverages. They ask you whether you want coffee or any drink to this thing, because the profit in the profit in this beverages are very high. So what I'm saying this, because when you do something else, you fix a fair price, so you are not overcharging your customers. So these are some of the fair trade and practices. Fair payment. Okay, so when it's more like a what do you say, value for the money. When the customer pay money for the product, make sure you are giving value. Okay, so if they are paying 100 rupees or 1000 rupees, please ensure, as a business, you have to ensure they are getting what they weigh. Okay, I'm paying 100, I get a product or services worth of 100 rupees. So that's what is like fair payment. No child labor and no forced labor. As you know, again, it is a rule in country. Children below the age of, if I'm not mistaken, 15. Okay, 15 or 18. So is considered as a child. Okay, so what happens if you are hiring a child? Okay, so you are spoiling the future. So you should not hire a child, or you should not force any labor. Force means that someone not interested to work, or someone borrowed money from you, cannot repay, so you are making them to work for you. So these are like forced labor. So we should not do as a business. So these are some of the 10 principles. No discrimination, gender equality, and freedom of association. Discrimination in terms of like sex, okay, male or female, and discrimination in based on the gender. I said that's a male or female. Discrimination based on the religion, discrimination based on the region or language. All these things should not happen. Okay, so uh, freedom of association, like coming up with like what do you say, union and all those things, we can should allow. Good working conditions, that's very important. The atmosphere where our employees are working should be very conducive. Okay, if it is like say a departmental store or any shop, it should be clean, and the temperature should be suitable. I mean, not so hot or not very cold. It should be like very comfortable for the people working in terms of cleanliness, even safety aspects and everything. And then capacity building. Okay, capacity in terms like what do you say, the resources we are having and we are expecting our employees to work. Okay, whenever we align some work, assign some work to our employees, make sure we give them the resources. Okay, so if someone is asked to do particular work, like a marketing person to go around, we have to provide them with the either a vehicle or money for the petrol to go around. So that is what. Promote fair trade. Okay, and then respect the environment, very important aspect in the business, which you also studied in societal business. We have to fulfill the customer needs and wants, okay, in a very profitable way by giving value, but also take into consideration in doing so, in satisfying our customer, we should not spoil our environment in any manner. Okay, in terms of polluting, in terms of giving opportunities for all the set of people and all those things. So these are some of the, I mean, principles they use in a fair trade. So this is more into ethical aspect of a business. Then last topic for the day. Okay, so career opportunities in marketing. So there are usually when we say marketing, we only what comes into our mind is only marketing manager or salespersons or sales manager. There are especially in big companies, there are different. I mean, different positions are there. So we are going to see few of them, and what is their what is that? What is the requirement for that, and what kind of job scope they have. So advertising so comes under marketing. So advertising is one of the today's hottest field in marketing. So key advertising positions include copywriter, art director, production manager, account executive, and media planner and buyer. So brand and product management. So advertising inside advertising, there are so many. What is that positions? Are there available? Which we can choose whatever we are good, whether art director or we are going to write the script for the advertisements and produce production manager and all those things. Next topic, I mean, next position is brand and product management. That's a branding. Like branding is very important. Okay, nowadays people patronize brand because brand means it contributes or it attributes so many things. Brand denotes quality. Brand denotes what is say quality, and then recognition. Brand means increased lifespan. Okay, brand means fame, name. Okay, so brand denotes so many things. So my company spend a lot of money on developing their brand. So what happens? So in order to develop, they need to come up with a department or section which is a brand and product management. So people, there will be a set of people, okay, working on that to improve the brand image of the particular product. So brand and product manager plan, direct, and control business and marketing efforts for their products. They are involved with research and development. Okay, so R&D is everywhere, research and development. So what happens including the brand also, packaging, manufacturing, okay, in terms of production and all the sales and distributions, how we are going to distribute now with the internet and all those things, our distribution channel is, I mean, getting easier. Advertising, promotions, market research, and business analysis and forecasting. So all this comes under the again brand. Then sales and sales management. Sales and sales management opportunities exist in a wide range of profit and non-profit. When you see the previous one, like advertisement, branding, So these opportunities mostly available in big companies or big firms, but sales, retailings, these are available in a very small firms also. So the job is, available everywhere around the country. So the range of profit and non-profit organizations and in product and service organizations, including financial, insurance, consulting, and government organizations also. So you have vacancies in every type of industry also, which is like a government, insurance, etc. Retailing. Retailing provides an early opportunity to assume marketing responsibilities. Key jobs include store manager, regional manager, if it is like a multi-national companies. Multinational companies, then they have, I mean, uh, departmental manager and salesperson. Marketing research. Marketing research is also, a part of the marketing one, where they do the research, and this is the most effective way to understand the changing needs of the customers. So what happens here, marketing research interact with the managers to define problems and identify the information needed to resolve them. So problem means, in terms of customer aspects. Okay, they design research products, prepare questionnaires and samples, analyze the data, and prepare the reports. I mean, these reports means related or pertaining to marketing, and present their findings and recommendations to the management. Okay, so what happens? So what are the information they collect regarding their target market, and then they prepare the report, and then they present to the present to the management. So management will take a decision, okay, whether to implement the new recommendations, okay, given by the marketing research team. Okay, so that's why actually they usually say it has been, it should be, the report should be given on time. Okay, sometimes the report is given very late in sense, already our product is become a flop in the market. It should not be there. If the report is given late, in marketing they use the term called postmortem report. Postmortem report means already the problem is there, it becomes so clear to the business. Okay, the product failed or the sales declined because of particular reason. So as if you have a marketing research team, so what is their duty is means to find out why a particular product might fail or going to fail. Okay, so that is what they are going to file. Not only in terms of failure, even what attributes make this particular product success. So they also give that information to the management, so the management can work on the areas and improve on that areas which are weaker, and make the areas which are good, they can make it better, and they can increase the market share thereby. So that's all for today.